It was a killing that rocked a community and sparked one of the largest instances of civil unrest in a generation. The inquest verdict of lawful killing at the hands of the Met Police threatened to derail already fragile community police relations. But 4 years on from Mark Duggan's death, friends, family and supporters provide rare insight into their fight for answers. This story holds personal resonance for me. The heart of this tragedy lay in Tottenham, a place with a fractious and sometimes contentious history. It was the epicenter of the Broadwater Farm riots in 1985, where PC Keith Blakelock was killed. It was home to Mark Duggan, and a place I put down roots for over 2 decades. The Duggan campaign have refused to accept the official narrative of what happened on August 4th, 2011, when 2 bullets from a Metropolitan firearms officer ended the life of the 29-year-old father of 6.
I had a feeling something was wrong because people was coming round, and then I said to my friend's daughter, and I said to her, "What is going on today? There's something," because she kept answering the phone and going outside the door. And then I don't know, everything completely went blank. And then it was came on the news actually that someone had been shot. So I was saying, "No, that can't be Mark." You know, everyone's thinking Mark, because he said the first story was a 40-year-old man. So I'm not even thinking about Mark actually. And then in the evening, Mark's baby mother, she came to the door and she was crying with Mark's sister. And she said, "I don't believe it, Mark's been killed." And I said, "What?" And I said, "No, you must." She said, "Yeah, I need his birth certificate," because I had the birth certificate. So I gave it to her, and I still didn't believe that Mark had died. And then it came on the telly again, and I was saying, no, it can't be. And I spoke to Carol. Carol was in Manchester at the time, and I said to her, "It's not true, is it, Carol?" And she's going, "What? Well, she already knew."
Carol Duggan has been the public face of the Justice for Mark Duggan campaign. Mark and his brother Marlon lived with her in Manchester for years. The phone call to say Mark was dead came from Simone, the mother of several of Mark's children.
I couldn't get a sense out of her, and I'm saying, "Who's saying he's dead?" Simone, tell me who's saying he's dead, because I didn't know whether it was a rumour on the street or whether it was official, you know. She said, "Everybody's saying he's dead, everybody's saying he's dead." So I said, "Simone, where are you?" She's like, I'm at this scene. I said, "Where's Marlon?" "He's here with me." I said, "Put Marlon on the phone." So all I could hear was Marlon screaming from the bottom of his belly. And I knew it was real. I knew it was serious. I knew. It didn't sink into my head that Mark was dead because I didn't want to believe he was. I'm thinking he might have made a mistake, or he might be injured, or, you know, dramatisation, over-dramatised, but the way they were screaming, I knew it was serious.
I tried to walk towards the scene, couldn't really get over there because obviously they had taped everything off. But yeah, walked back to Simone. I think Simone said that his body's still on the ground over there, so I kind of walked back again and tried to run through the tapes again to see if I could see his body, whatever. And obviously police ran towards me and said basically it's a crime scene, I can't come over there.
Did you expect any of this to happen the way it did?
No way. No way, man. It was a shock, man. It devastated everybody. You understand? It was a shock, man. Devastated everybody. Devastated England. You get what I'm saying? It devastated England. Everybody was hurt by that.
A lot of people could not believe it. You get, no, not Mark, it can't be Mark, it can't be Mark. That's why I was in denial. Even when they said they wanted to come and see the body in the chapel arrest, I said no. Because I was saying, no, I don't want to go. That wouldn't have been good for me. Last time I seen Mark, he was in my garden, he was alive. So I don't really want to see him now.
The following days were chaotic with conflicting reports about what had happened. Both the police and the body that investigated police misconduct, the Independent Police Complaints Commission, passed the buck.
They left a vacuum of information. They created, in a sense, space for all kinds of alternatives to be laid out, for rumours and other information to be laid out. At the same time, they did an injustice to the family of Mark Duggan, and really an injustice to Mark Duggan, because they let information, incorrect information, to be allowed to fly on that night, that suggested that there was a shootout, for example, when no such thing occurred. To suggest that, that an officer had been hurt, or that the gun was in his hand, and so on and so forth.
Behind closed doors, a family crisis was unfolding. As Tottenham ignited, no one had told the older Duggan children that their father had been killed.
I was withholding it, and I don't know why. I know why, because I didn't want to see them hurt. I didn't want to see them. Their life damaged, and it has been. So I just go down there. I think if I would have had passports, I would have took them abroad to try and save them. So no, none of us will ever forget that day. And the day we had to bring them home. And all the family were here in London, we had to tell them. All the grown men were crying because, come on, the screams of that child. Kayjon, the next son, he just vomited all over me because he just couldn't, they had a really close relationship with Mark. They were like, Mark was like their best friend, and nothing could console them, not even Marlon. I'm trying to say, but your uncle's in. I don't want him, I want my daddy. So yeah, it's the worst thing I've ever experienced in my life.
The family wanted answers, and the British judicial system was slow in providing them. The inquest verdict, when it came, was a shock, and official efforts to provide a counter-narrative were met with scepticism.
I couldn't even get up off the chair, I couldn't believe it. Because I was up on the stand as well, a few days before. And I was thinking positive, they murdered my son, but when that verdict came, I couldn't even get up. They just had to because I was thinking, no, that can't be right. And that's the verdict.
The long wait for an inquest decision was almost as painful as the verdict.
At the inquest, I really did think that, I was going to get the right result. Because it's black and white, literally. It was, I know how it is when you're up against the police. I know it's not as easy as that, but that was another blow in itself,
We believe that inquest didn't come to the right verdict. We believe it was a perverse verdict, and the reason it was a perverse verdict was because it was misled by trident officers, and because the IPCC are ineffective and didn't do their job.
This opinion is widely shared, including by one of the UK's most experienced legal minds.
There is a logical inconsistency at the heart of the verdict returned by the jury in the Mark Duggan inquest, which I find very difficult to understand and interpret in ways which appear logical and reasonable. So that the jury concluded that at the time he was shot, Mark Duggan didn't have a gun in his hand. If that be right, he's not posing a threat. So why was he shot? And that's the contradiction which I find difficult to explain, and why, understandably, the family, friends and supporters of Mark Duggan are still continuing to campaign, because they cannot see, given those inconsistencies, that justice has been done, and this is why they need to take this thing further.
With the judicial review of the inquest verdict rejected, the IPCC's 500-page report declared the matter closed. Not everyone agreed. The push for public inquiry focuses on the role of Operation Trident, an elite Met unit now disbanded that dealt with black-on-black crime, and the role of Kevin Hutchinson Foster, the man who supplied the disputed firearm to Mark Duggan, which led to his run-in with the police on that fateful day.
We're focusing on officers from Operation Trident and their activity within all of this. We now know that Operation Trident officers had ample opportunity to take that gun off of the street before they killed Mark Duggan for it. And we also know that they had ample opportunity to arrest the person who supplied the firearm to Mark Duggan, and for whatever reason they chose not to. We can only be left believing that they chose not to because that person was very helpful to them. And there's a real solid belief in our community now that in some way Kevin Hutchinson Foster was actually working alongside Operation Trident and was almost planting that gun on Mark Duggan.